Hello and welcome to the Blessings in the Streets podcast. I am your host, Joseph B. Robert, and in studio with me today is a phenomenal young lady I had the pleasure of meeting about a month and a half ago. We connected online and she expressed an interest about being on the show, and we linked up, talked about it, and we made it happen. And so she's taking some time out of her busy schedule to hang out with us for a little while to inspire, to encourage, to uplift, to pour into the lives of others, particularly when it comes to what it takes to overcome the challenges and adversities of life. She is the host of the Successful Toy podcast. She's a mom, but most importantly, she's a woman of God. And I'm so excited and thrilled to have her on board this evening. Looking forward to learning a little bit more about her and her story. So it is my privilege and honor, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce to you Miss Toy Blackmon. Toy, thank you so much for being on the show.
You're welcome. Hi, how y'all doing? I am Toy Blackman. I am some of everybody. I am Toy Blackman. I am LaFonda Blackman. I am successful. So I
Hey,
run Successful Toy Podcast. I have a clothing line, but we'll get into everything. But yeah, I'm the host, Toy Blackman of Successful Toy Podcast.
awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, again, I'm so excited to have you on board and really looking forward to hearing your story. I'm pretty sure that I should say I don't have any doubt that that myself, along with my listeners, are going to be blessed by what you share today. So, thank you so much for taking the time out because I know you have a very busy schedule. So, with that said, let's go ahead and we're going to jump right into this. So, Toy, I'm the kind of person who, when it comes to discussing our stories, our journeys in life, I'm a firm believer that in order for you to capture the full essence of the story, it's very important that we start from where it all begins. And so that's exactly what we're going to do in this moment in time right now. And so my first question for you is I want you to kind of take us back to your childhood. And if you would, tell us what was it like for you growing up? Fond memories that you have about growing up, as well as if there was any challenges in growing up that you'd like to share. Feel free to share that as well. Kind of give us that foundational basis of where your story begins.
Okay. So I'm originally from Belgrade, Florida. I grew up, my grandmother raised me because my mom was a drug addict. And my dad, he was there until I was 5 and he met his wife and then he wasn't a father anymore, but he's dead now. So yeah. But I was raised by my grandmother. My family is real big and it was always family. That's all I ever knew was family. Like I hung out with families. Everybody that was my age, they was boys. So it's kind of like I was the only girl in my age group in my family that was hanging out with the boys. I remember my grandmother used to always get on me because I'm outside playing with the boys. I'm playing football. I'm climbing trees. We playing marbles. They tearing up my knuckles. I'm running in the house. My knuckles this big. And my grandma like, you was out there playing with them boys again. You a girl. Da, 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 da. Like, yeah, cutting grass. I was doing all that. Like, my childhood was lit now that I'm looking back on it. But at that time, it was like, oh, my grandma's so strict. She don't let me do nothing. Da, 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 da. But now I understand everything, you know? But when you're
Hmm.
a kid, you ain't understanding that stuff. You're like, oh, she don't let me do nothing. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. But yeah, I was always a respectful kid, though. I wasn't no. I did things. Don't get me wrong, but I wasn't like a horrible, horrible child.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, first off, I appreciate your transparency and sharing, what it was like for you coming up. Like I said, I can't imagine that it was easy. As you stated, your mom was addicted to drugs, and you were primarily raised by your grandmother. But at the same time, I'm also a firm believer that, when we go through challenging things such as that, while it may have not felt good in the moment, while it not may have not been the easiest thing to deal with, I don't believe in any way that God allows us to go through these things just by, in a random way. That for you to go through those challenging moments in life, you'd experience and see some of the things that you were able to see. I think it kind of sets the tone for what lies ahead later in life. Because one of the things you just mentioned, for example, when you talked about, at the time you thought, some of the things that your grandmother might have said or did was, it felt, she's just being strict. Maybe she's trying to keep me from having my fun, my enjoyment. And a lot of kids feel that way when they're growing up. You feel like, somehow you're being denied opportunities to do enjoyable and fun things. But when in fact, we have parents who are paying attention, and they, of course, obviously they've lived a little bit more life than we have at that time. So they know the stuff that if we're not careful and we get caught up in that, it can lead us down the wrong path. Whereas if we get caught up in some other things that are more on a positive nature, then it opens up it opens up the doors for us to be great, or I'm gonna use your word, to be successful in life,
Mhm.
because you wouldn't be thinking about doing those type of things. And particularly in your case, you're in an entrepreneurial space. That's not going to be on your mind if you're out here just kind of doing whatever and not having somebody that's,
Mhm.
that cares enough and loves you enough to want to speak some life into you and say, hey, I see potential in you. I see value in you. I see a purpose and a calling in you. I want to position you to where wherever life takes you, you have an opportunity to be successful in whatever it is that you dabble yourself into. So I think those experiences are so valuable, which is why I like to talk about, when we start off our stories here, about how was it like growing up, because the other thing that I want my
Mhm.
listeners to understand too is that, you know, everybody that's successful in life, everybody that does well in life doesn't always come from, a quote unquote perfect, setting, home setting or neighborhood setting or whatever. But that doesn't mean that just because you didn't come up like that, that that's the end of your story. In fact, it's just the beginning of your story, and that you too can be successful. You too can accomplish a lot of great and magnificent and wonderful things in life. You just have to, again, learn from those storms in life, learn from those challenges that you're going through, and you find out later on over time how they all fit into the big puzzle, to the big picture of life that lies ahead of you. So again, I appreciate you sharing that, because that's critical. And I'm already seeing, just in a little snippet that you shared and knowing what you do right now, how that can have its own impact, its own connections, and how you're able to now pour into others through your platform, on your podcast. 'Cause you cover
Mhm.
a wide variety of different subjects and topics that afford you the opportunity to do that. So that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Toy,
I,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, I remember my grandmother telling me that I hurt her so bad when I ended up getting pregnant and stuff. She was like, because I had choose to go live with my mom, because my mom had got her, she didn't fully get her life together, but she wasn't like living on the streets no more and stuff like that. So I wanted to go live with my mom. So, and my grandma, I remember her telling me like, I hurt her because she had so much plans for me. And I really feel like if I would have stayed with my grandmother, I probably would have went to college. But things happen, and college ain't for everybody. So
That's true. And even with your grandmother saying those words, I don't, I mean, you obviously would know better than me, but I would take it that when she said it hurt her, I think it's more so about, as with any parent, you if you're any parent that cares anything about your kids, you always want to see them not only do well, but you want to see them do better than you did as a parent. I want more for you. And so when you see that potential in somebody, I don't care if it's your child or even if it's just somebody that you just have an admiration for, and then something happens that could potentially sidetrack or potentially derail them from attaining that greatness, obtaining that level of success, it can be, she may have used the word hurtful, but I think it was more in line of just disappointing, because I really want to see you do well. I really want to see you be great. And so if an early pregnancy or some other decision in life potentially could derail you from doing that, and I really admire and look, and see value in you, then yeah, it's going to make me feel some kind of way, because I don't want that to stop you from doing what you're doing. But again, everything happens for a reason. There's a purpose in it all. And look at you right now. You are doing,
yeah.
you are walking in your calling. You're walking in your purpose. You're doing it. So that lets me know that, yeah, while you might have had a pregnancy that took place sooner than you anticipated, or you had other life situations that took place that you weren't necessarily planning on, it still didn't stop where you are now and where you still have to go. I mean, the pathway is still
Right.
out there. You're not finished yet. In fact, you're just scratching the surface right now. We talked a little bit about that before the show started.
Mhm.
You know, you getting your grind on, you trying to make something great, you trying to build on what you're doing, and you got your hands
Yeah.
dabbling in a number of different things. So, you know, again, for my listeners, don't allow one situation, one storm, one circumstance to make you feel like that's the end for me, that I'm done, that there's no hope for me, because that's so not true. And we have to start looking at our storms as really as opportunities for us to be greater, for us to be a better version of ourselves. We learn, we glean from what those situations were. What am I supposed to get out of this? You know, what could I have done better, and what could I take from this moving forward? Because that's the key, moving forward. I'm not going to stay stuck here. I had a little setback. Okay, I have my moment. I'm going to deal with it, but I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to keep progressing towards my goals, towards my dreams, towards my aspirations. So I think that's ultimately what it's about here. And you're clearly doing that, as our listeners are going to find
Yeah.
out as you share more about your story. But, you know, so yeah, it's cool to hear, you know, even beginnings that, you know, may have had a little rough patch along the way. It's still good to hear, people be able to overcome those moments in time, and not allow those situations to hold you down and defeat you, because it's just not intended to do that. So that's awesome. That's awesome. So Toy, you know, as we get older, of course, you know, you obviously started off telling us a little bit about your childhood, and you move into adulthood, and, you know, you live long enough. One of the things that you're going to experience in life is these series of storms, these series of challenges. And every now and then, the storms, the challenges that we face can be a little bit heavier than the normal day to day type of stuff that we deal with. So much so that we may actually find ourselves in situations where we're like, man, how am I going to get out of this? Even if you're normally really good about navigating your way through challenging times, sometimes you can get hit with something that money can't get you out of. You can't call a favor in to get you out of. You just literally feel like you are trapped in this situation, and you're stressing about it. You're worried about it. You got your fears and your anxieties about it. You don't see a way out. And so, with that said, my question to you is, tell us about a time where you were feeling just like that, where you didn't know, how am I going to overcome this situation? How am I going to get through this? This is way more heavy than what I'm accustomed to. Obviously, you're here today, so we can trust and believe that God opened up a pathway for you to get through. But maybe at the time you weren't feeling that. You weren't thinking that there was a way out. So if you would kind of share with us whatever story that you choose to share of a moment where you were in that type of scenario, and what was ultimately the turning point where you began to see some light at the end of the tunnel as you were coming up out of that situation.
Oh, Jesus. I used to be a dancer. So I I was just in it, to be honest. Like, I love the fast money. I always wanted a 9 to 5. I always had a 9 to 5 sometimes while I was dancing. But if it's like too much going on with the job, I'm like, baby, I could go to work, and what I'm making in a week, I can make this in a day. So yeah, I'm just gonna become a full-time stripper. But I wasn't happy with that, because I was one of those dancers that I didn't like guys to be grubbing and feeling all on me. Like, I didn't like it. But it was like, sometimes when the money good, is like you have to do things you don't want to do just for the money. So I want to say it was July the 1st. I can't remember what year it was though. But I was at work, and when I tell you, for 3 days straight, I had came home with over $2,000 for 3 days straight on a Friday. On a Friday, I went to work at 12. So I was gonna work from 12 to 8. I was working a day shift so I can be home with my kids and stuff, because normally I work the night shift. So I was there from 12 to 8. I left that club with $1. And you heard how long I said I was there, from 12
Mm-hmm.
p.m. to 8 p.m. I left there with $1. And as I was driving home, I said, I'm done. I said, Sunday, I'm going to find me a church. I'm going to go to church and I'm finna leave it all to God because I ain't doing this no more. I'm over this. And I had told one of my friends, she was a dancer also, my friend at the time. She was like, come to church, come to my church or whatever, however. So I went to her church and it was just so welcoming there till I joined that same day.
Mm.
So when I joined the church, I literally started, I didn't have no job. I didn't have no income coming in whatsoever. Didn't know how I was gonna pay my car insurance, how I was gonna pay my car note, how I was gonna pay my rent, how I was gonna pay my lights, how I was gonna do this and that for my kids. I had 3 young boys at the time. Didn't know how I was gonna do none of this. But I was just like, I'm putting my faith in God.
Mm.
And the church, when I joined the church, you know how the church have new orientation and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So in the orientation, I was telling my story to the pastor, and then he was like, you can't have faith if you still worrying.
Mm.
So I'm like, what that supposed to mean? So he was like, you saying you walking in faith, but yet you still worrying about how you gonna pay your bills, how you gonna do this, how you gonna do that. So I was like, oh. He's like, yeah, when you saying you walking in faith, that means you giving it all to God and you're not worrying about nothing. When he said that and I started doing that, when I tell you, every time a bill would due, it was getting paid and I don't know where the money was coming from. And to this day, I can't even say where the money was coming from. My youngest, he's now 22. He was 8 at the time. He was like, he came in my room. No, he probably was a little older. He probably was like 10, 9 or 10. But he came in my room. He sat on my bed. He said, Mom, you ain't got no job, but no lights, no water, no nothing, never been cut off. What you doing? And I said, God.
Hmm.
And he was just like whatever she's talking about. So that was my turnaround point. It was just like I always been a child that growed up in church, but you know sometimes we steer away. But I still believe in God. I don't care what I was doing. I still believed in God. But sometimes I didn't understand the word until someone like this, my pastor that I had done met, when he broke everything down to me, it was more like, oh, now I get it.
Mm-hmm.
At first, I'm reading stuff and seeing stuff and calling myself believing in God and this is what God want us to do and that, but really not understanding what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. So it's like when I met him and he was talking to me and stuff and telling me the stuff and I was like, and was breaking it down to me, I say in street form because it's like when he preached from the Bible, but then if he see he ain't getting no reaction the way he's supposed to get a reaction, he like, all right, let me break it down in street terms. And when he break the Bible down to where we understand it, it's like, oh, now you on your feet, you doing this and you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that what woke me up was like, I'm done. I'm done.
Wow.
Did
Wow.
I go back? Yeah, I went back. But I didn't go back right away. But I went back. But I ain't go back right away though. It was years later I ended up going back. But yeah. It's dancing just it wasn't for me.
But even what you saying that you know with years later would revisit that, obviously you didn't. That's not been a permanent stay for you because again you're doing other things. That's a
Exactly.
like you said, it's a thing of the past, and it's interesting as you were telling this story because I mean I think I may know the answer to this, but I don't want to make assumptions. I mean I want to kind of go back to you working that shift, that 8 hour shift. You had been dancing for a while. You'd always done very well. in terms of making money. Like what was kind of going through your mind in that moment? I've been dancing here for 8 hours. I always get paid. But this day, of all the days that I danced, of all the days that I've danced, this particular day I put in 8 hours and I got $1 to show for it. What was kind of going through your mind at that moment? Like, how is it possible that I only made
I,
a
I,
dollar today after 8 hours of work?
and that's crazy because it was like I went on stage, did a stage set, and that's how I got that dollar. When nobody dancing me, no nothing. So that it was just like I just felt like God was telling me like it's time.
Hmm.
That's how I
Yeah.
felt. I just felt like God was telling me like it's time. You say you want to stop, okay? Because if I keep letting you make money, you're gonna keep coming back. You're not gonna give up, and that's true. Because if I would have kept making money, I still probably would have been in the clubs.
Hmm.
But when God showed me that, I feel like it was nothing but Him. Like, all right, this is the only way I'm gonna get high at this club. I got because that wasn't my first time going to work and not making money. When strippers act like they make money every night, no, they don't. They don't make money every night. So it was just this one time though. It bothered me. It did
Hmm.
something different to me because I don't left plenty of times with nothing sometimes, but it wasn't like a regular thing. You know what I'm saying? And there was
Hmm.
times that God made me God had me to make enough to where I can cover my bills. And then it was times to where I'm good, I don't need nothing, but I'm finna go ahead and get some extra money and didn't get no extra money. But I was okay because my bills was paid and I wouldn't want for nothing, my kids weren't wanting for nothing. So it was just like, but this time, that time, it was just like, nah, it was a different feeling. So I
Hmm.
know it wasn't nobody but him.
Right, right. And I'm glad you pointed that out because I think it's so, if you haven't established a relationship with God, you wouldn't understand this. But as you said,
Mm-hmm.
when that turning point moment comes, where God says, where He's basically saying, "Look, it's time for me and you to get together." He has a way of positioning where you are in life in that moment in time, and as you said, it wasn't like you never had an off night before, but for some reason, this off night felt different than the other off nights. This was something different. It was like there was something. There was a different vibe. There was a different feeling that you were experiencing, and that different feeling was God connecting with you, saying, "Boy, it's time for me and you to make this connection again. We need to get back.
Uh-huh.
We need to get back in relationship. I need you to stop relying upon this fast money that the dancing offers, and I need you to start depending upon me."
Mm-hmm.
Because that's ultimately what God wants. He wants us to be dependent upon Him. He doesn't want us to be living life to where we put all our faith, all of our trust in the 9 to 5, or all of our faith and all of our trust in a fast money method, or in some other things. He wants it to be all about Him. And He has a right to expect that of us
Mm-hmm.
because He's the one who created us. And He loves us unconditionally.
Yeah.
He wants the best for us. And He's like, I know that this is fast money. I know that this is an easy thing for you to do, but I got so much more for you. And I go back to you at the very beginning talking about grandma being disappointed, being hurt, because she's saying there's more to you than this. You bigger than this.
Yeah.
I know you might be good at this. This
Yeah.
might be fun to you, but you better than this. You bigger than this. There's so much more. Well, God is taking the same approach, but He's doing it at God level. He's like, the things that I have for you, the blessings that I have for you, the ways that I'm getting ready to make for you, the things that I'm getting ready to open for you, you have no idea. And you never will until you and I are on the
Yeah.
same page, until you or I are in relationship. So I have to create a scenario where you have that off night, but you're going to think about this differently. And then here you were already positioned with somebody who had already been speaking to you about come with me to my church. And then you take that invite and then you
Mm-hmm.
get there and instantaneously you feel that you start to feel that connection. You feel like you're at home, in your new church home. And then the
Yeah.
word that used to be complicated
Because
to
I was
you. you start understanding it more. It starts to relate to you more. So I mean,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I'm sorry, because I literally was gonna be driving. I was living in West Palm at the time, so I was gonna be driving back because I was like, man, I don't know no church to go to or none of that in West Palm. I'm just gonna drive back to my hometown and go to church, which was like 20 to 30 minutes away from West Palm. So I was like, I was just gonna go back to my childhood family church and just drive over there every Sunday until she invited me to her church. And speaking on, can I like say a quick little thing that happened to me recently again with God?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Um, so last month, like he been had told me to quit my 9 to 5 and focus on my business and my podcast and stuff. He already had done gave me that feeling that I'm gonna go somewhere. But the job was holding me from going farther with my podcast and with my business because when you're working, you're focusing more on work. Or when you come home from work, you're tired. You don't want to record. You don't want to promote. You don't want to do nothing. You just probably want to cook, go to sleep or whatever. And then on your off days, you're trying to force yourself to do recordings, but at the same time, like you tired. So it's like, then people was reaching out to me wanting to be on my show, but I couldn't because it wasn't aligning with my time. So God had told me to quit my job. And I wasn't being obedient, but I was being obedient because it was like, no, I got stuff I got to do. I got stuff
Hmm.
I got to do. I can't put all this on my mate. And he telling me, what are you talking about? I told you to quit your job and you telling me, no, you still got stuff to do. You don't want to put it on nobody else. Okay, whatever. So I was holding it in, wasn't telling my partner, just going to work, miserable. And I'm like, bro, I be wanting to record podcast shows. People be reaching out to me to be a guest. I can't even book the people because I gotta work. And then it was one day when she finally heard me say like, I'm not happy. I'm not happy. I'm only still here because I don't want all the bills to fall on you. Once she told me, she said, God told you to do that. I said, yeah. She said, I got your back. Whenever you're ready to quit, just let me know. I said, May the 1st is my last day. And baby, April the what it was, April the 30th or April the 31st, however many days April had in it. April the May the 1st is when I came a full-time podcaster. I was like, and I love it. I love it. Like it feels so good. Like I love it. Yeah.
and that's
But
and
yeah, I
that's
hadn't that.
yeah, that's beautiful. I mean, and again, and it's interesting that you brought that up because I've oftentimes had that same conversation about, and you can relate to this. It's like God has this calling on you. There's works that He's given you a vision for. Of course, I got podcasts, but then I also have other things that God has placed on my heart.
Yeah.
But I also work a 9 to 5, like you were working, and it can be very difficult. And I know we may have some entrepreneurs that are checking this out, checking this episode out, and we you're in that situation where you get comfortable with the 9 to 5. We know what it produces in terms of income. We know what to expect, but then we have this vision, this thing that's tugging at us that God has placed on our hearts to do. And it gets to a point as you begin to build and build and build, it gets to a point where you're saying, there's no way I can really give my all into the vision and still do this 9 to 5. Something's going to have to give. The question
Mm-hmm.
becomes, what do I let
Yep.
give? Well, God made it easy for you. He said, you need to do what you've been called to do, the purpose that I've placed on your heart to do. That's what you need to do, and that's where we find ourselves having this battle but we're basically, as you spoke to, we're kind of operating in that disobedience space because we're like, well, I hear you, God, but
Uh-huh.
I got bills, or I got I got
Yes.
stuff I'm trying to do, and He's like, but what about that faith that we talked about, the same faith that your pastor
Right.
talked about when you first reconnected with the church that you that you're
He
attending.
like, girl, like you forgot. Not who I am. Like, what do you mean you got stuff you got to pay? You got stuff you got to do. Like, if I'm telling you to do something, that mean I got you, right?
Mhm.
You right.
And
Okay.
it's so it's
That's why when
go ahead. I'm sorry.
that's why when it comes to my podcast too, I don't just focus on one topic. Like I dislike, because I ain't gonna say hate, because I don't hate nothing on no one. I dislike when I see a guest wanting trying to be on somebody's show, and I reach out and send them my link and stuff, and they'll watch one video. This just happened to me the other day, and they was like, now remind you, they was trying to promote their books, and I'm like, okay, you can come on my platform. I'm interested. They watched one video, and it was an interview of me interviewing a fitness coach, and they tells me, oh, I don't think your podcast fits me because you talk about fitness. What?
Hmm.
This is the vision God gave me. My platform is for any and everybody who have a story, or you're a business person and you doing stuff and you want to expand. I don't care what you got going on. If you juggle bowling balls and you get paid for it, and you want to come on my show and talk about bowling balls, baby, let's talk about it, because I'm interested. Because how you juggling balls? Like, how you do that? Like, those balls are heavy. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
Like, that's interesting. Everybody have a story. Whether you come on telling your personal story. One thing about me, I stay away from drama. You can't come on my show talking about other people and all that stuff. I don't do all that. I don't care about the negative stuff you have going on in your life when it comes to drama. Say like you want a celebrity to come on your show. When you watching other people that book celebrities, what they focusing on? All the negative stuff that the celebrity has going on. They're not even focusing on none of the positive stuff that the celebrities have going on. That is not my vision. I want to focus on the positive side of everybody. I don't
Mhm.
care about no negative stuff. If we talking and you want to share a story of something that happened to you, but it brought glory to you, we can talk about that. But I don't want to talk about Bobby shot Womack because he was rapping the wrong song. I don't care about that. I don't care about them
Right.
people business. I want to focus on the positive side of everybody and what they got going on. That's what my podcast is about. My platform is for everybody. Only
Love
thing
that.
I do stay away from though is religion and politics. Because some people, they be trying to, they claim they believe in God, but they be trying to, and then that politics stuff. Those are the only two things I stay away from. But if we have a conversation, you come on my show, we talking about God, that's different. But I ain't talking about all that other religions. Like, I don't.
Like you said, you're trying to keep it positive. You're trying to, just as I shared, at the top of the show, we're about inspiring, encouraging, and uplifting, and there's a variety of different ways that you can do that. But in the end, we're giving credit to who's the one that's in control of it all, who makes it all happen, and that's God. And we can
Never.
reach that point through a number of different avenues, a number of different pathways by way of our unique stories that we're sharing, just as you're sharing with sharing yours today. So I'm with you on that about the positivity. Like you said, there's so much negative in the world. We need more of platforms that are about, trying to uplift, trying to encourage, trying to help people deal with the challenging times, the storms of life, because we all go through it. We all go through it. Yours may not be
Yep.
my storm may not be yours, but neither one of us is immune from going through storms. We all deal with stuff, and it can be rough sometimes. It can be a bit much sometimes, and everybody doesn't have a circle around them of friends and family. Everybody doesn't have you know the right perspective, the right mindset in dealing with those things. So to have platforms out there that are, or just to have individuals in general who just want to be a positive, empowering, encouraging, uplifting type of person to another person, that matters. That matters, and I think that that's what God wants us to be. He wants us to operate in that mode. So, yeah, I'm totally with you on that. With you on that all the way. So, so Toy, I am interested. You shared some pretty heavy stuff, obviously. But we know that when it comes to our storms, sometimes they can be heavy and sometimes they can just be regular, everyday type, lifing type stuff. What I'm curious to know from you, though,
Mhm.
is when you do find yourself facing a challenging moment, again, whether it's something big or something small, what is the process or the routine that you like to implement that works best for you? What is it? What are the certain things that you like to do that kind of helps you stay level headed in the moment of adversity, but work your way through it to ultimately get into a resolution? How do you work through your challenging moments like that?
Well, the new me, when I tell you I don't let stuff bother me, I don't let stuff stress me. I wake up every morning, I read a page of the Bible every day. I listen to me some gospel music. I might not listen to my gospel music every day, but I listen to me some gospel music. I start my day off positive, so
Mhm.
I don't let nothing bother me or get in my way. I don't. Now the old me, baby, I used to be a firecracker. I used to, you say A, I'ma say B through Z. I'm still standing up for myself, but I don't do it as often because I'm more of a, you won, you got it, you're right. That's me now. So I don't too much put myself in awkward situations anymore, to where even if it just fall on my lap, I be like, God, you got this. I'm not finna stress about this. I'm not dealing with it. Nope. It's your job. And I leave it alone. And I really do leave it alone. I don't let stuff bother me no more. I get to me anymore. So I have grown in that section.
Love that. Love that. And I think what's important to point out with what you just said is, in light of the question, you're not waiting for something to go wrong or a storm to come your way before you start um, going through your regimen, if you will, your routine. You're basically you're already positioning yourself each and every day, setting the stage, setting the tone of having a positive outlook, a positive focus, and I think that's critical because that way, if you're already going into your day, as the Bible would say, you're already armored up. You're already preparing yourself.
Mhm.
Then, if something by chance, if this just happens to be the day that a storm is going to come your way, you're able to not like go into freak out mode about it. You're not in panic. You're like, okay, this is hitting me today. Okay, I got to deal with this. That's cool. I'm already armored up. I'm already mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I'm already in alignment to where I can take this storm. I can have my moment of how I feel about it, whether it's anger or frustration or whatever, but I'm not going to stay stuck there. And then now with a clear mind,
Exactly.
I can process and figure out, okay, what am I going to do to get through this situation? And you're giving credit again. You're saying, because of the way you start your day, I'm not worrying about it. I'm not going to stress about it because I know God's going to handle it, whatever it is. And I think that that is so key for people to understand about the need to don't be that person that waits for something bad to happen and then react. You
And then
stay,
you have
that's,
to
yeah,
bam.
you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
That no, I say, and then when things happen, that's when you want to run to him. When you control, you
Mm-hmm.
have control. You literally have control of how your day gonna go. I don't want to hear you don't. I used to think like that. No, we don't. No, we don't. But yes, we do. We have control. And it's so crazy because it happened to me the other day. Like my partner called me and she was going off. Baby, I let her yell, scream because it wasn't about me. She's just like venting. And I was like, you done? She like, yeah, I'm gonna call you back. I said, okay. I hung up my phone. I said, God, not today. She ain't finna, I don't need that negative energy on me, baby. So when she came home from work, I told her, I said, girl, I had already done got it. I done already talked to God, baby. I don't have a praise break in the house today. And then you come calling me with that negative energy, like, girl, no. She was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I won't do that again. I'm sorry." I was like, "Yeah," because it wasn't even that serious. I said, "You got to stop letting people control your energy, girl." And everybody, we need to stop letting people control our energy. I had to learn that people used to be remote controlling me. But I tell y'all, God did his big one on me, baby, too, where you cannot control my energy, baby. You want a reaction out of me, you're not gonna get it. It's me smiling, looking cute. Y'all be mad. People be mad when you smiling and they angry. They get mad.
Mm.
And it's like, you're not. Nope. And I want to say this too. Ever since I've been reading a page of the Bible, it's so crazy because I done did this for years to where I start reading the Bible because I tell myself like, I want the Bible. I want to get to know the ins and out. And I do it for a little bit, then I get sidetracked doing other stuff. But now I'm back in it, right? And now that I'm back in it, I started from page 1. I think I'm on 10 come tomorrow. Would I tell you I'm understanding the stuff now, and I'm like, how many times I done read Genesis and from 1 to 10, and I ain't understand none of this stuff. Now I understood everything, and the part that stuck out to me, I said to myself, and I said I was gonna make a post about it, but I was like, us women, we been hard headed. Come on, agree with me. We been hard headed.
So you've been hard headed, huh?
We been hard headed. Eve, that man told you. And he was being a leader. He was doing what God told him to do. And girl, you was hard headed. And that's why we is how we is today. Girl, you was hard headed. And I want to say, reading this Bible, baby, now I'm really understanding. Is really opening my eyes to where it's like, we've been hard headed. We've been, but I'm understanding the Bible more. I literally can read it and understand it now. Because I ain't gonna lie. All the other times I read it, I wasn't understanding it. It's like I was reading it, but I wasn't understanding it. But
What,
now I'm reading to understand.
what's happening? And I don't know if you paid attention to the heading for our show for today. A statement of determination.
I seen that.
Everything that you've just said is what that story title represents. When we talked about earlier about, how you deal with adversity and storms of life, your statement of determination is that I'm not going to allow my day to be, filled with negativity, to get me sidetracked, to get me off track, to get me off base, to get me out of character. I'm determined. And when we say a statement, it's not just a verbal statement. It's not just a written statement. It's a way of being. It's a way of life. I'm determined to, because you even spoke to that. You was like, we can control what kind of day we have. We can set that. We can set that tone for the day, how it's going to be, regardless of what might happen that we don't even know is going to happen today. We can make up in our minds that I'm going to have a good day, regardless of what happens today. Regardless if there's a storm that comes my way, regardless if something doesn't play out the way that I hoped it would play out today. Does that mean that you don't ever get upset about things, or that you don't ever get, disappointed or angry or whatever? No, it doesn't mean that. Again, it just means that I'm gonna have, if I have such a moment, I'm gonna have that moment, but I'm not gonna stay in that moment. I'm gonna keep moving forward. We're gonna get done what I planned on getting done today, and I'm just not going to allow stuff to just get the best of me, to overwhelm me, to take me out. I'm determined not to allow that thing to happen. And then when you spoke about, taking the time out to study your word, even if it's just a page a day, and you said, I've been doing this routine for so many years now, to the point to where I'm reading some of the same things over again, and I'm finding myself understanding it better, even though I might have read this particular point of scripture 10, 15, 20 times. And to that's your statement of determination in that moment is all about, can be summed up in one word, and that one word is consistency. You're being consistent in what you're doing, and God honors, acknowledges consistency, especially when it comes to getting to know him and knowing his word. And he will, in that consistency, he will reveal things to you that, like you said, the previous times as you read it, you might have not understood it at all, or maybe you only understood a certain nugget of it. This time you read the same thing and you get a whole new perspective, a whole new understanding from it. That's what God is about. That's what he does. But he wants us to have again, that consistency, that commitment, that as our show title, the statement of determination to say, I am all in. I'm all in with what he has for me, what he wants me to be, how he wants me to behave, how he wants me to conduct myself. Again, will I make mistakes? Will I fall short sometimes? We all will, because we're human. But
Yeah.
I'm not going to allow
Yeah.
myself to stay stuck there. I'm going to get back up. I'm going to dust myself off, and I'm going to keep pushing forward. I'm going to keep pressing through until I can, until I
Mhm.
get it right. And we have a God who loves us so much that he'll give us, through his graces and his mercies, he'll give us that second chance, that 10th chance, that 100th chance, that 1000th chance.
Entertain.
He'll just keep on giving us chances. He'll keep on dusting us off and say, "No
Mhm.
problem, Toy. No problem, Joe. Get back up. We're gonna keep working on this till we get it right." And that's what this is all about. This is what you just exactly what you just spoke to. So that's very powerful, and I appreciate you sharing that, because people need to understand that. It's a
Yeah.
state of mind. It's a state of being. So yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, Toy, if you had a chance to speak to the younger version of you, when you think about all the experiences that you've gone through, challenges in life, things of that nature, if you could sit the younger version of Toy who, didn't have the insight, didn't have the understanding that you have today, or perhaps if there's somebody listening and they're right now going through some of the things that you used to have major challenges with, you didn't understand, you didn't quite get where you needed to be in terms of your mindset and your approach to handling the adversities and challenges of life, what would be your words of encouragement, your words of inspiration that you would have for somebody listening right now that's going through what you've been through? Or again, if you could speak to younger Toy, what would you say to her?
If I could speak to the younger me, I apologize to her so much till she'll get tired of me apologizing. I hurt the younger me. I abused the younger me. I abandoned the younger me. When I tell you a lot of things I learned from the streets, it's like my mother or my grandmother didn't teach me. So I learned from the outside world. And I wish that some of those things I would have never did. I would have never saw, would have never learned. But you learn from your mistakes. And when I tell you my mistakes have made me so strong and a better person than who I used to be. Because that person that younger me, she was a nasty person. She was nasty. Her heart was always good though. My heart was always good, but I was a follower. I was a follower. That's how I label that. I was a follower. What I see my friends do, that's what I was doing. But then when I did it to them, it's a problem. Now they don't like me. They want to hate me. They want to fight me. But I learned it from you, from watching you doing it to your other friends. Yeah. So my words to the younger generation that's growing up, don't look at others and feeling like they got their life all together, because all us fighting silent battles behind closed doors. Social media, everybody paint this perfect picture for us. And it's not that. It's not that. Have your own mind. Be humble. Focus. And stay strong. Stand in your word. Whatever your heart believes, follow your heart. Don't be who somebody else wants you to be. Be who you want to be and do what you want to do in life. Because a lot of me, my younger me, I think it was I was doing it because I seen others doing it too.
Wow.
And like I said, my mom was a drug addict. So a lot of things, I was just telling my oldest son this the other day. I was like, it's so crazy that my mom had me when she was 14. My dad was 23. I had him when I was 15 and his dad was 21. I said, you had your first child when you was 16, but your baby mama was 17. I was like, it's just like, and then he called me the other day. He said, Ma, I was just thinking about something. He said, Kevis broke that. Remember what we was talking about the other day? And I'm like, what are you talking about? We talked about a lot of stuff. And he was like, 15, 16. He was like 14, 15, 16. And I was like, what are you talking about? 14, 15, 16. He was like, Grandma had you at 14. You had me at 15. I had my first child at 16. He said, Kevis broke that. Cause he's 25 and he ain't got no kids. And I was like, oh shoot. I didn't even think of that. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, that's what's up. So it's just, I don't know, you guys, just don't be a follower. Always be a leader. And yeah, you're going to fall short sometimes, but that's okay. That's okay. Just stand strong, stay focused, stay positive, and stay humble.
Love that.
I tell myself that every
Absolutely
I
positive.
need to get used to say that. Because I'm always saying that. Stay focused, stay positive, stay humble.
So now you guys, that's some apparel for you. There you go, right there.
Hmm. I'm going on tonight to make
Going on tonight.
that shirt. Going on tonight to make that
Hmm.
shirt. Hmm.
But even what you just said, I mean, God has a way of as you're trying to pour into others. In this particular part of our show, you're trying to encourage, you're trying to give some words of advice, and God can simplify it in just some very quick and brief words that just have powerful impact. Everything that you just said there is so true. We got to stop, like you said, following the crowds, trying to be like everybody else, especially in the days and times of how social media is. Like you said, everybody gets on social
Hmm.
media. No, and I say everybody loosely. I mean, it's not everybody, but quite a few.
Right.
We get on and we
The
create
young,
this image. We create this facade of what our lives are like and what we're doing and all of that. And people get so enamored and caught up in that, and they want to mimic it. They want to copy it, not knowing that there's not any truth or reality to it. It was all manufactured and made up to give people the impression that they're this when they're really not this. Your actual words earlier, you spoke about people suffering in silence. You don't even know how many
hmm,
people got a pretty profile picture, got real cool things to say on their
but
page, but they're hurting inside. And living in this make believe land of social media is their only way of them feeling some sense of value, that they're hoping for people that they don't know,
yeah,
hoping that they'll click a like, hoping that they'll say a comment to make them feel good, not knowing that this very same person that you're admiring, that you even might consider to be an influencer of some sort, that they're an inch away from possibly taking their life, because they're that depressed.
hmm,
They're that their self esteem is at an all time low. I mean, people are hurting out here, and so that's why it's so important for you to be mindful about how you treat people, as well as be mindful about who you are following behind. Nothing wrong for identifying somebody that you say, quote unquote, you might look up to, that you admire because they're actually doing some
yeah,
things, that some tangible things that that this is not something that they've made up, that you've actually witnessed, you've observed, you've read about, or what have you. Nothing wrong
exactly.
with you, identifying a mentor, or someone that you want to model yourself after that's legit in what they're doing and how they're doing it. But to just be, trendy about it, well, everybody else is following them, so I'm gonna follow them too, or everybody else is doing this, so I'm gonna do it too. That's a road to destruction. That's a road to you getting caught up in a whole bunch of nonsense and mess, that can derail you from what God intended for you to
Yeah.
do, and derail you from being all that best version of yourself that God created you to be. And so that's why I'm hanging on this right now, because it's what you said is super, super important. Don't be a follower. Be who you are, how
Yeah.
God created you. Embrace that, love that, and make the most of it. Live it to the fullest. And what you don't know how to do, lean on him to give you the direction and the guidance on what you need to do and how to navigate that. And he will do just that. He will be very clear with
I
you. This
promise
is
you.
what I want you to do.
I promise you he will. I promise you. I was just telling somebody on their podcast the other day, I was like, you know what I just noticed? And they was like, what happened? I was like, every business I done had, because I done had some businesses. I don't have businesses to where I put God, I added God and those businesses succeeded. But when I didn't add him, those business failed.
Hmm. That part. That part.
So baby, yeah, you got to make him a part of everything. And I
Everything.
was a big, when I tell you I pay my tithes, I don't play about paying my tithes, but I ain't got no income coming in right now, so I can't pay my tithes. But he understands me. He knows. But I don't play about paying my tithes. And when I say pay my tithes, and that don't mean like you have to give your money to the church. Me, I give my money to a complete stranger. Like, say for instance, say my tithes is $100. I'm either gonna come on Facebook and make a post and be like, who have Chime, Cash App, or Zelle or whatever, or Apple Pay, and I whoever the first person drop their information down, I send it to them and I put in their tithes, and then one person, I think my tithes was like $3.50, and they was like, "Oh, you could have kept that."
Mm.
I was like, "Well, that was my tithes, what I give to God. So I don't care how much it is. Sometimes it be $3.50. Sometimes it be $1. Sometimes it could be $200. Sometimes it can be $40. Sometimes it can be 50. I don't care how much it is. Like, you never know. So instead of me giving it to the church, because now I live in North Carolina and my pastor is all the way in Florida, I just randomly pick somebody off of Facebook and I inbox them and then I just send them the money. And one girl, she was like, I am literally crying right now because I just was saying how I'm gonna buy my baby some Pampers. She said, I can go buy
Mm.
my baby some Pampers and food for us to eat. And I was like, oh my God. And she was like, what made you do that? I was like, baby, I do it all the time. I just don't speak on things that I do.
Mm.
It's not for the world to know.
That
Because
part.
when you want the world to know, you're doing it for attention. You're not doing it from your heart. So when
Yep.
you doing stuff like that, you don't supposed to make an announcement. Hey, I just sent this girl $100. She told me that she didn't know how she was going. No, you did that for attention. And then you screenshotting the messages and posting on social media so everybody can read you and the girl private message. You're doing that for attention. God ain't gonna bless you. You're doing it for attention. And you can't do stuff. You cannot do stuff and always be looking for something back either. When you're doing it, you have to be
Mm.
purely, like, really doing it from your heart. Not you doing it because, oh, I want God to do this for me, so let me do this. He know you're not doing it because you want to do it. Are you doing it from your heart? He knows this.
Wow. I love that. And what you said, I mean, God speaks about that in the Bible. He talks about, when you
Mhm.
give, when you do for the show of it all, there's your blessing, right? Any blessing, any that you're expecting to get, you just got it right there, because you're just trying to put it out there in front of it. But if you're blessing people and you're not making a big announcement about it, you're just doing it from, not only will God see that, but he will reward that at levels that you can't even imagine, just because of the fact that again, it wasn't about me putting on the show. And we see that a lot of times, like you said, on social media, people doing really nice things, but then they took away from it,
You-
because we can
Yeah,
clearly
yeah,
see
whole vlog about
It was, I did this nice thing, but I'm trying to put myself on the spotlight, you know. So if I'm feeding the homeless, here I am video recording me feeding the homeless. Here I am feeding the homeless, everybody. Da da da. Or here I
it.
am
Right.
giving money to somebody. Why did you even have to announce that? God sees everything. He sees everything. So you didn't need to do that. And if God put that on your heart to give to random strangers like that, and then for you to be able to witness what it feels like to not only give to somebody, but not even knowing this random person just so happened needed that money. And yeah, you gave another example where somebody didn't appreciate the fact that you gave a few dollars here. You know, you could have kept that. Well, there's somebody out there who you might have another opportunity to give that to, and that $3.50 will feel like $350 because they didn't have nothing on them,
Right. Because
and they wanted a sandwich, or they wanted. You just never know. You just never know.
or they could have been short. They could have been short on a bill, and they could have been short $3.50, and that $3.50 saved them.
Yeah,
Like
and
it's
even
crazy.
it's crazy. It's
It's
crazy.
yeah,
and
it's
and
crazy.
and
And it's so.
and
It,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead.
No, you good.
Because
Go
it
ahead.
was one thing I was. It was one thing I was trying to remember, but I can't remember. And I don't know. Oh, I used to like randomly inbox people, strangers on Facebook, don't know them from a can of paint. I don't know. God just used to place stuff on my heart to like message people. And I just used to message people and be like, I appreciate you. And one girl was like, do you know me?
Hmm.
I said, no, I don't know you. It was just placed on my heart to tell you I appreciate you. You never know what people going through. They probably need to hear that from somebody. You ain't got to know me.
You never
People
know.
people be inboxing me positive stuff all the time, and I tell them, "Thank you. I'm grateful for you." Because you didn't have to tell me that. You took 2.5 seconds out of your time to tell me whatever positive message it was you had to tell me. Maybe God sent you to tell me that. So who am I to question you? Like, you know me? Why you telling me that?
Mhm.
Only one time I asked somebody, I was like, what did I do? And it was like, nothing. I just want to let you know that, like, well, I forgot what they had said to me. And I was like, I'm very grateful. And we left it like that.
Mhm.
So I had stopped doing that because when that person did that, but I shouldn't let people stop me from doing that, right?
No, you don't. Like I said, if God is placing it on your heart to pour into other people, whether you know them or whether they're total strangers, you keep doing that thing and you do it with consistency. And I'll give you a perfect example of that. Like every day, I post some type of inspirational message or some sort. Sometimes it
I
gets
be saying
a
it.
lot of traction. Sometimes it gets no traction. But even to that, and that's why with social media, you can't, and I've had this conversation before, you can't get caught up in the number of likes, because the reality is, and I've had this happen
Mm-hmm.
where people have come up to me, you know, and said, "Oh, I love when you post this, that, or the other." But they might be somebody who they'll never click the like, they'll never make a comment,
Mm-hmm.
but they're checking out what you do, and they're actually enjoying it. It's like helpful to them. And I've had people come up to me and say, "Oh, I really look forward to you. You know, when you put these out, it really makes my day. It sets my
Mm-hmm.
mind right." Or, "I really needed to hear that." I have no idea, you know, that that's going to happen. But for me, what I've learned,
Right.
especially in this whole social media age, whether we're talking about inspirational messages or even a podcast episode, if I've made a connection with one person, that's a victory. Even if it just was one person
Yep.
who saw your post of inspiration, who saw your podcast episode, or just something about you that made their day, that helped them
Mm-hmm.
to have a better day, to maybe to have a different perspective of how they were approaching the situation, whether they tell me or I never get a chance to meet them. And I say this all the time, even with our podcast, you know, there are going to be people who watch this episode. They're going to be impacted by your story. We may never know their name. We may never see their faces, but that doesn't matter. God knows. And so if I'm doing the work that I'm
Yep.
supposed to be doing, that's pleasing to God and it's in alignment with what He wants me to do, if you're doing the same thing on your end, whether it's through your your podcast platform or other means, that's all we're trying to satisfy. That's the only one whose approval we are seeking. And that goes back to what you just said earlier
Yeah.
about we can't be followers. We can't be people who just go along with what everybody else is doing or worried about the approval of other people. We have to ask ourselves if what I'm doing is pleasing to God, then it doesn't matter if nobody ever says anything. It doesn't matter. If this is what God has called me to do and he's asked me to do it,
Exactly.
and I'm operating in obedience and I'm doing that, then I'm good to go. And he's pleased. And I know that
Exactly.
he's going to get whatever I put out there to the person or persons that needed to see it or needed to hear it, needed to experience it. I don't have to know who they are. I don't have to, I don't need an applause. I don't need a pat on. I don't need that. All I need to know is that I've pleased him. And if I've done that, I've done my job.
Right.
So, yeah, that's good stuff. Good stuff. So, Toy, before I let you
Yeah.
go, this has been great having you aboard this evening with me, chopping it up and just hearing your story and your sharing and your pouring in as you have through your story. But what is customary here on the Blessings in the Streets podcast that I love to do, that I take the time, of course, to make sure that I do, is I want to make sure that we take an opportunity to love on you, to celebrate you, to acknowledge you. So if you got anything going on right now or coming up down the road that you'd like to share with us that we can celebrate, we can love on you for, we can acknowledge, please do so at this time.
Okay. I have a clothing line and it's called Are You Successful? I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's Are You Successful? And the meaning behind it is like, are you successful or are you successful? Like, are you just successful? Or are you full of success? So
Mm.
that's a different little twist. It's just not like, are you successful? It's no, are you successful or are you successful? So I have those that I have. I have a website. It's on my link tree, Successful Toy Podcast. You can also check me out every day, except for Sundays. I don't record on Sundays. I give that time for God and for me to sit back, reset, and all that. But so you can find me on Facebook, Successful Toy Podcast. You can find me on Instagram, Successful Toy Podcast, and I'm now on Fanbase and it's Successful Toy Podcast. Everything is Successful Toy Podcast. YouTube, Successful Toy Podcast. You can listen to me on WWRCK Radio on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. and on Saturdays at 7 p.m. And do I have anything coming up that's special? No, I don't. But he just gave me this idea. I would be dropping my shirts. Stay focused, stay humble, and stay positive.
There you go. There you go. That's coming.
So y'all
Yep.
look out for them because I'm working on them tonight.
There you go. There you go.
But I want to say thank you for having me. Like I enjoyed the conversation. It's crazy because I didn't know it was gonna get this deep.
Well, again, I appreciate you taking the time out to, to be with us, to share. As I told you, and you didn't disappoint. I've been blessed by your story, and I know my listeners are going to be blessed by your story. Appreciate your transparency and just being authentic and keeping it real. Because again, we all go through stuff, and I'm certain that somebody's going to hear your story, and they needed to hear what you had to say. They needed to know that regardless of the
Yeah.
adversities and challenges that we all go through in life, that is not the end of it all. That there's something greater, there's something bigger in store for us, and it begins with that relationship with God. He is the author, He is the finisher, He is the way maker through it all, and so I appreciate again you sharing as you've done, and it has definitely been a pleasure getting to know another layer of you that I didn't already know, and I'm looking forward to all that God has in store for you, not only in the present but moving forward. I'm expecting big and wonderful and magnificent things coming from you, and like I said, you're just scratching the surface. You just getting started, and so that's
Just
awesome and
getting
exciting. Yes, absolutely. And for my listeners, If you've enjoyed our content for this evening, please subscribe, please share, please like, please comment, because again, this is what the Blessings in the Streets podcast is all about. Inspiring, uplifting, encouraging, empowering. This is how we do it. We share with our stories authentically, transparently, just trying to connect with you and let you know that no adversity is too big to overcome. But it all begins with that relationship with God. And if you don't currently have that relationship, today is a mighty fine day for you to look into making that happen right now. Because again, as you heard from Toy, as you heard even from myself, we're not telling you things that we heard about. We're telling you things that we know from personal experience about how God just steps in, makes ways out of no way. He just is just a miraculous and wonderful God who just loves you unconditionally, wants nothing but the best for you. And I promise you, you make that connection, you make that relationship happen, it'll be the best decision that you ever made. So remember, here at the Blessings in the Streets podcast, this is the place where your story is your glory, where your relationships are relevant, and your journey is your joy. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, you keep fighting that good fight. You keep persevering. You keep facing that adversity head on, knowing that there's a God who is able. He is the ultimate problem solver. He will get you through those adversities, those challenging moments. They do not define who you are. They, in fact, allow you an opportunity to become a better version of who you are, tapping into all the gifts that God has placed uniquely in you to be the best that you can be, to not only receive blessings for yourself, but to, more importantly, to be a blessing for other people. So until next time, you take care of yourselves. I look forward to seeing you again on our next broadcast. And until then, you take care of yourselves and have a great rest of your evening.